Welcome to Uncommon Minds, where we sit down with truly amazing innovators and unique practitioners across common fields who think outside the box and carve their own paths to success. I'm your host, Shelly Henriquez-Neal. Let's lean into another great episode right now. When you ask somebody to define happiness, there's a visual that may come to mind. Sometimes that visual is a place, a person, a feeling. The question may prompt laughter or just a deep feeling of joy. For others, that definition may be a little harder to call up because in their minds or their memory, it's just more difficult to pull it together. It doesn't mean it's not there. It may just mean that achieving it or connecting to it may not be as easy. Whichever group you fall into, neither is bad. The experience, practice of tapping into your emotional self and being aware of it, how it shows up in yourself and how it shows up in others, is something that everyone can integrate into their way of life. This is part of the landscape of emotional intelligence. Tapping into this can absolutely change your life. There are guides, there are people in the world who commit their life's work to planting those seeds early and supporting that connection for everyone at any stage of their lives so that they can experience this immeasurable wholeness that everyone deserves. I am really, really excited today to be joined by one of the best practitioners and guides on how to build that into your life. Ashley Williams is a spiritual teacher of yoga philosophy and meditation. She is also the CEO and founder of what was Infinite Focus Schools and now is called CLYMB with a Y, CLYMB. It's a tech platform that's designed to teach young people in schools the basics and the practice of socio-emotional well-being to gain insights into their own abilities and power. Ashley believes that, quote, there is an inner stability that comes from knowing your mind and being able to regulate your emotional world. We're going to connect with her today on that and much more. Welcome, Ashley. It
Thank
is
you so
so
much.
good. So good to see you.
It's good to see you too. I'm so thrilled to be here talking about
Awesome.
one of the things I love talking about. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
It's great to have you. It's great to have you. So I figured we could start in a creative way today.
All right.
Acronyms.
Okay.
Love them, kind of. They're good. They serve a purpose.
Yeah, they serve a purpose. They're great mnemonic memory tools.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I want to try to create an acronym together.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you, in your words, to define emotional intelligence in about three to five words. And let's see if we can pull an acronym together.
3 to 5 words is pushing it. I'll tell you just because I'm a wordy woman. I have the gift of the gab. Emotional intelligence is the ability to identify your emotional experiences
Okay.
and the emotional experiences of others.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
That was actually really good.
Yeah.
So with the acronym is just an I to identify. Like if we were to call out a particular word and everything that you just said, you have to be able to name it.
You have to be able to name it. That's the first step.
Yeah.
I would add an additional step, and that's the ability to regulate what you identify. Because you can name a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Can you navigate it?
Mm-hmm.
So emotional intelligence is about the ability to navigate what comes up within you. And then if you notice that within yourself, you have the capacity to navigate it when you encounter it in the world.
Fantastic. So when we talk about identify, are we really talking about self-awareness?
Absolutely. That's the core
Yeah.
of my work is self-awareness.
How do you teach that?
The key to teaching self-awareness is to teach self-observation. Non-attached self-observation. One must be able to identify consistent patterns that show up in their life, in an individual's life. Whether it's a thought pattern, it could be a behavioral pattern, it could be an emotional pattern.
Okay.
Typically, our behavioral patterns and our mental patterns are always connected to our emotional patterns because emotions are dictating the thoughts that we think. If I maintain a certain emotional pattern, that's associated with certain thoughts. And then that is also associated with certain behavioral patterns. So nothing is living in a silo
Mhm.
as human beings. Everything is integrated. If I can learn to master one aspect of myself, that gives me the tools to master all aspects of myself. So from my perspective, emotional intelligence and conversely emotional health is about self-mastery. How do I maintain my inner landscape and maintain stability such that when I enter the world, no matter if the world is chaotic, no matter if the world is not peaceful,
Yeah.
I can be peaceful in the midst of whatever is happening.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, and so brilliantly explained, because a lot of what we hear today, on this matter is it's a lot of jargon,
Yeah.
and being able to break it down so that anyone can understand it is part of what helps you call people to this work, I'm
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because if it doesn't make sense for everyone, you've already missed people,
Mhm.
and they can't understand how this connects to them, and the
Mhm.
reality is that this connects to everyone.
Right, if it doesn't feel grounded, it doesn't feel applicable even
Exactly.
to every individual, but this is about every human on the planet. So I have a theory that most of what we witness on the planet, from politics to personal relationships, the things that feel off about it all go back to emotional dysregulation.
Mm,
We lack the ability to communicate. We lack empathy. We lack the ability to understand that, hey, I'm behaving in this way because of this thing.
right.
So, because that self awareness is missing, we propagate negative behaviors that become the norm. And then we say, this is how society functions.
Yeah.
And society is just a reflection of the people who exist within it. So, no, this is not how society functions. This is how people function when they are poorly regulated. And
Yes.
then we call that the world.
We normalize it.
We normalize it.
Yeah.
So, my theory is that if we can teach self regulation skills to young people from an early age, the same way that you teach mathematics,
Mhm.
the same way
Mhm.
that you teach how to structure a sentence,
Mhm.
we can change how we engage with one another as humans and also how we engage with the planet.
I
Uh,
love that.
all for the better. So that is my why. You know,
I
it's
love
a
that.
very audacious goal, but I think it's possible for
Mhm.
people to learn how to master themselves,
Yes.
you know,
Yes,
and
yes.
how to engage in the world. It sounds very esoteric, but
Mhm.
this is grounded in actual data and science. There was this study at Columbia University that showed that for every dollar that we invest in emotional intelligence,
Mhm.
there is a long term yield and benefits that include higher earnings. You make more money when you have emotional
Mm.
intelligence. That includes healthier, safer neighborhoods. You know,
Right.
your neighbors are friendlier
Right.
when people are practicing emotional intelligence. It impacts your academics. So
Right.
think about our children in classrooms
Mhm.
who often, because of the state of our society, are chronically stressed,
Mhm. Mhm.
cortisol rushing through their bodies.
Mhm.
They are not able to function. They are not even able to process the information that is being given to them in the classroom.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
we say, oh, our kids are not learning in the way that they could be, or our kids are not as intelligent as they
Yeah.
should be. We're
Yeah.
not giving them the environment to flourish. So it does have an impact on every aspect of a life.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. As you were talking about the ripple effects of
Yeah.
emotional regulation, one of the things I thought about is, does it mean you can't have a bad day?
No, it doesn't mean I am not speaking of toxic positivity.
Right.
And I'm not talking about spiritual bypassing. I'm
Right.
talking about the ability to feel what you feel and not become stuck in what
Mhm.
you feel. Feel upset, be angry. Do not become an angry person. Those are two different statements.
Right.
Feel sadness. That is a normal human experience. Do not become sadness. How do we negotiate that? So, those are the tools that emotional intelligence provide.
Mhm. So, let's talk a little bit about your origin story. How did you come to this place of knowing and really feeling that this is your calling, this is your life's work?
Um, Ever since I was a small child, I, one, wanted to be an explorer. I wanted
Mhm.
to be an adventurer. Um, so it kinda makes sense that as an adult, I would become an explorer of myself.
Mhm.
And then secondly, when I was in college, I suffered from depression.
Okay.
And that experience, it was situational depression, and it was a few semesters, but that experience inspired within me a questioning, a wondering of what is happening in my mind?
Mm.
How can I take proactive measures to maintain my own well being? That
Mm.
was like the first question that I asked of myself. And that eventually led me to mindfulness. So, mindfulness means to pay attention to the present moment with total acceptance.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple and clean statement, but it is profound. There is depth to it. What does it mean to be able to pay attention
Right.
to the present moment with total acceptance? And so my life became about answering that question. What
Mhm.
does it mean to pay attention to the present moment with total acceptance? And I became a teacher at some point, and as I'm learning these things about myself, I'm noticing the same patterns in every human that I meet, whether it's a child or it's an
Right.
adult. So I would bring some of those self-regulation skills that I picked up from mindfulness exclusively into the classroom, and it worked. It
Mhm.
worked with my young people, and people started to notice, and at some point, I was invited to write a curriculum to bring, self-awareness and mindfulness into all of the classrooms in the building,
Oh, nice.
and it worked,
Nice.
and we
Nice.
got great data, and it just became even more interesting to me. I said, "What would it be like to scale this from a school with, 600 kids
Mhm.
to schools to hundreds of thousands of kids?"
Mhm.
And that is what eventually led me to build my platform, CLYMB, which is, as you mentioned, an emotional health software for children. So,
Mhm.
so this has always been my path. I
Mhm.
believe that I came here to do this work. I have always been interested in self mastery, ever since I was a little kid. Uh, in terms of uh, my exploration or my journey to find my teacher, I have always just been about what is the path that helps me to maintain stability, that helps me to be centered, whatever else is going on. And I
Right.
have explored a lot of different spiritual methodologies.
Mhm.
But once I discovered the yogic teachings, which for me are no different than what neuroscience says about emotional regulation.
Sure. Sure.
I mean, neuroscience is only catching up to what yogis have been talking about
Right.
for thousands of years.
Right.
So once I found that, I found my teacher. I was like, this is it for me. Nothing brings me more pleasure
Mhm.
than to share the joys of inner stability.
Mhm.
That is just
Mhm.
pure delight for me.
Mhm.
So my whole life has just become about sharing the teachings and helping people to connect with what is already present.
Yeah.
Like, oftentimes we think about happiness, we think about stability as coming to us through acquisition of
Yes.
things. I will be happy once I get the degree. I will be happy once my child graduates from high school. I will be happy once this period is over for me. And the truth is, we walk through difficult circumstances,
Mhm.
but emotional regulation allows us, the yogic teachings also support this, to be at peace wherever we are.
Mhm.
So I can be happy today and I can be happy tomorrow when I get my degree. I can be happy today and I can be happy tomorrow when my child graduates from high school. I can be happy today and I can be happy tomorrow when I'm no longer in this very difficult situation at
Mhm.
work. So
Mhm.
that is what it's about. And so, what that makes visible to us, if I can be happy today, even when things are not going my way, and I can be happy tomorrow when things are going my way. What is consistent? It's
Right.
happiness.
Right.
And so the invitation is for us to redefine happiness. It's not necessarily through acquisition.
Mhm.
It's when everything is stripped away. Can you be at peace?
Hmm.
Do you still feel stillness? Do you have an inner joy? And the answer is that we do. We all do. Every human on the planet. And it takes work. It takes refinement in order for us to be in that which we are. So that's what emotional intelligence, the yogic teachings, meditation, they all give us that gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you came to this because you walked this walk,
Yeah.
and you walked this walk from a place of not knowing.
Mhm.
And so it's almost as though you're telling your story every day
Mhm.
in every aspect of your life. I also like that what you're saying about being happy without the acquisitions, it's internal.
That's right.
It's not what's outside of you.
That's right.
And if you can't be happy with what you were born with what you were given, with your mind,
Yeah.
then what else can it doesn't matter what you have, it doesn't matter how much money you have to acquire everything.
That's right.
You're still not going to be truly at peace with yourself and truly happy.
That's right, and that's why we all have heard stories of people who have everything,
Yeah,
and they're still miserable
yeah,
because it's never enough.
yeah.
It's never enough. There's a yogic story about, like, a spirit who is never it's called the hungry spirit, it's also a Buddhist teaching,
Mhm.
and all it does is consume, eat, 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 eat,
Mm,
eat, eat, eat. No matter
mhm,
how much it consumes, it never is full. It's
mhm,
never satisfied.
mhm,
And so that energy exists within humans too.
mhm,
No
mhm.
matter how much we consume, no matter how much I do, no matter how much it's never enough. And guess what? It will never be enough because it's not in that.
Right.
It's not in that.
Right.
And so if we can learn that early
Yeah.
and still have your goals,
Yes.
still,
Yes, yes,
be
yes,
a millionaire if that's your thing,
yes,
but do it with the wisdom
yes.
of what is true in who you are. And that changes everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it absolutely does. So, when you talked about the definition of mindfulness, the first 2 words in the definition was pay attention,
Yeah.
right? It's almost like the path to mindfulness is in that very definition. If you just take the words one at a time, or even 2 at a time,
Mhm.
it's the first step,
That's right.
right? The first step is paying attention. What do you think when I'm gonna talk about the bridge to schools now, um, because here you are in an environment that is about learning, is about teaching, is about learning, but what is the biggest misconception in the school environment as it pertains to mindfulness?
The topic of mindfulness in a school setting is dependent on the school in which it is either being implemented or not implemented. There's
Mm,
no consistent consensus about the place of mindfulness or emotional intelligence or
okay,
social emotional learning in a
okay,
school setting. There are some schools that say it's not relevant. That should be taught in the home. If
sure.
it's up to the parents.
Mhm.
There are other schools that say it's a part of being a human, and so we are a place that molds small humans, so
Mhm,
it's important.
mhm.
I think that, my personal belief is that, of course, it matters because it impacts whether a child can learn and how well they learn and how they test. So, emotional intelligence and mindfulness is a part of being a healthy, whole human being.
Right.
But every school district has their own approach
Mhm,
to that.
mhm.
And my thing is, I'm not here to be in opposition
Right.
to anybody's perspective,
Mhm,
but to resonate and to support the organizations that are ready
mhm.
for the tools that my company is able to provide for them.
Nice, nice,
Mhm.
nice. That's really good because at the end of the day, you can't change minds,
That's right.
but you're really just introducing a concept and then seeing who comes to it.
That's right, and like with anything, when you experience it and it works for you,
Mhm,
that's all the selling that is required.
mhm,
So,
mhm,
to be able to bring a product like CLYMB into a school setting
mhm.
and to see the outcome of that product on your student population,
Right.
that's enough.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Talk to us a little bit about what that looks like, the introduction of CLIMB. How is it used in a school environment?
So
And especially with different grade levels too.
yeah, it's differentiated based off of grade levels, of course.
Okay.
We work primarily with grades K through 8. It's a software. So kids log in, they engage with the platform, based off of where they are. The software sort of like when you go to your doctor, you get a personalized treatment plan
Mhm,
because of its specificity to you.
mhm,
Your symptoms are improved. So we sort of do the same thing. We get
mhm.
an emotional health assessment on that individual, and then we provide them with resources that meet them exactly where they are.
Okay.
And so we're able to improve their emotional health, their social emotional competency over time,
Mhm.
and then provide that data to the school
So
for.
it's customized essentially.
That's right. It's a personalized plan for
Nice.
each individual student, and then
Nice.
we provide that data to the school or to the school district.
Excellent.
Mhm.
Can you share a success story? A story that resonates with you after all this time working with this population. Can you share a story?
Yeah, sure. I will speak very broadly just because we're
Yes,
talking about schools and kids.
of
But
course.
um, what I notice consistently from schools that utilize CLYMB is a change in culture, which is the most important thing. So a school culture will impact everything from how teachers are able to teach. If kids are pulled out of class, it impacts attendance, it impacts suspensions. And when you bring in a product like CLYMB, where you're teaching young people, hey, if I'm angry, what are the choices can I make other than, throwing a pencil across the classroom or punching a kid in the face? You start to notice decreases in those disciplinary issues that will traditionally lead to suspensions. You start to notice, I'll just give some examples from some studies that we've done. So typically what we notice is that students' self-awareness, their level of self-awareness increases.
Mhm.
We notice that climate and culture in a school building increases, meaning it's healthier. We
Sure.
notice that referrals and suspensions are decreased. We notice that students' self-regulation skills increase. We notice that there is better conduct in
Mm,
classrooms from
mm,
utilizing CLOM. So there is a significant impact on how a school functions
mhm,
when you equip young people with these type of tools.
mhm. This is
Hmm.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Is this all across the country?
Yeah. So we work with school districts across the United States. We have,
Mm.
hundreds and thousands of kids on the software.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
fantastic. This is amazing. What about
Yeah.
homeschooling?
So we don't, to my mind, have any homeschooling on the platform, but is
Mhm,
accessible to anybody.
mhm,
So
mhm,
any parent even can go to the website and access the
mhm,
software. Yeah.
mhm. Question for you. Once a student shifts from the school environment and back into their personal or their home environment, what are the applications that they may start to see as a result? Because one of the things is always clear to me is that, well, for some students, school is an escape if their home
Mhm.
environment is tough.
Mhm.
But there is always a distinction between how a child is when they're in the school environment, when they're in the home environment.
Mhm.
What are some of the studies that you've seen or research that you've done in terms of that distinction and how climb is impacting the other side?
Yeah. So I'll start with this, saying that wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
And so what that means that with a product like CLOM and what we're teaching, the coping skills are carried with the kid. They're
Mhm.
inside of the kid. So if I learn regulation skills to use when I'm angry, I have regulation skills to learn to use when I'm angry, whether I'm in a home setting, whether I'm with my friends. And
Right.
so the idea of CLIMB is to provide young people with coping skills they can carry around in their pockets wherever they are. And the same way that as an adult, if I learn how to practice self-awareness and I notice myself at work having anger, or I notice myself in a conversation with my mom having anger,
Yeah.
the practice is with me.
Yeah.
So that practice travels with the kid. It's
Yeah.
it exists outside of the school building,
Yeah.
and that's how the product works. The kids are actually able to use the software outside of school. It's not just like something that they have to use in a school building, and we also have a parent portal so
Mhm.
that parents are empowered to bring those tools into the home as well.
Oh, I love that. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, that's so awesome. It's interesting that you say it's inside you. The practices. I just had this conversation yesterday with a client and we were
Mm.
talking about practicing
Mhm.
and I said practice at home.
Yeah.
Use that same tactic with your family, with
Yeah.
your kids
Yeah.
because if you can get it down there, you can get it down anywhere. It
I mean, and
becomes a part of you.
that is the key to emotional regulation. If you if you are, for example, a fireman or firewoman,
Mhm.
and you're in the habit of putting out fires, you train for that before you get to the fire.
Mhm.
Like you
Mhm.
know how to do that before you get to the burning
Yes.
house. So let it be with us. So
Yes.
to liken that to the human experience, the fires are the anger, the sadness, the fear, the frustration, the depression, whatever that is for you, whatever that spark, that flame is for you. Train for that before you get to the fire,
Right.
meaning do your work.
Right.
The Buddha would say to his students at the end of the night, do your work, meaning meditate, do your work, use your emotional regulation tools prior to getting to the fire. Because what happens is, as you do that work, you create new neural pathways in your brain. Like this is about the brain. This is about having a different way of being by creating new neural pathways. And so right now we all have neural pathways that we've created over time. And the neural pathways are just, think about like an automation machine. You are just like a robot, like, because this is what I do. This is what I do. This situation comes up. This is how I respond. There is a groove in your brain that when you encounter a specific situation, it automatically goes into certain thoughts, behaviors, perspectives. And then people say, I don't know why I feel like I'm in a loop. There are grooves in your brain that have you in a loop. But a tool like meditation, if you've ever been ice skating and you see how they have the Zamboni that smooths the ice, that's what meditation does. So it smooths those grooves that you have in your brain that are leading to behaviors and thoughts that are less than helpful. It's not that they're wrong. It's just not, it's maybe not what you want anymore.
Exactly.
It's less than helpful. And then that allows you to create new neural pathways in your brain. So you smooth over the others. And now I'm going to choose other choices. And every choice that you choose, it's another groove. And so then that becomes automatic. And so that's how you stay centered, because now it's like people look at folks who are centered and calm and they think it's some amazing thing. And it's like they've practiced that
Over time.
And now it's natural to them in the same way that your reactivity is natural to you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
So that's what this
yes.
work is about. It's about changing your brain, like the way your brain functions, so that peace is normalized for you. Yeah.
I'd love our audience to really get a sense of what one of the regulation exercises are like.
Yeah,
Right?
sure.
And what the guidance through those exercises looks and feels like. Can you guide us through one?
Sure. So I will do very simple breath work.
Okay.
And keep in mind that what you're doing with breath work is you are inducing the relaxation response in your brain. You're telling your amygdala, which is that part of your brain that's like, you're telling that part of your brain everything is okay. And only you can tell your brain that. Like, you have to be the one to tell your brain that. If you go to therapy, you can work with a therapist and the therapist will give you amazing, helpful information. But at the end of the day, you have to execute. You have to say those things to yourself. You have to do the work. And so the breath work is just a part of doing the work. It's a part of creating new neural pathways. Very simple technique. What we are invited to do, there are two options, and figure out what works for your breathing capacity. You can inhale at either a count of 5 or a count of 7. I'm going to inhale at a count of 7. I'm also closing my eyes just because it's easier for me to sort of focus in on the inner level if I close my eyes. So I'm going to inhale for 7. And then I'm going to hold for 7. And then I'm going to exhale for 7. And then I will do that cycle 7 times or 5 times. And you will notice a difference. Now, that is a tool that you can use to train like the fireman or the firewoman. Before you get to the fire of anger, practice this tool and you will be prepared when you get to that fire.
Yes.
And a lot of times, we'll say, I'm going to do the work once I get there. And it doesn't work. You're like, this doesn't work. Like, what are these people talking about? Meditation is not, it doesn't work. It's like, yeah, like you're already dysregulated, that's a different game that we're playing at that point. And there are tools that you can do when you're dysregulated, but it's more work. It's really hard to do the work when you're dysregulated.
Yeah. What thank you for guiding us through that. It's similar to, or I think it's box breathing.
Yes, it is. Very similar
what it
to
is. Where you inhale for a count, you hold for that same count, you exhale for that count.
That's exactly right.
The immediacy of the effect of that, folks, I'm telling you, you will feel it immediately.
Yeah.
What I love about breath work is when you're introducing it to someone who isn't aware, It gives them something to focus on.
Mhm.
And oftentimes that barrier that people have challenges crossing is, oh gosh, it's too quiet,
Mhm.
right? Is that usually how you start when you are introducing someone to the practice of mindfulness or quieting their mind or regulating their emotions?
I can start with breath work. I like to just kind of just get to it, sit down, close your eyes and breathe.
Mm.
And to say that if you can for as long as you can, no
Mhm.
judgment. Like if you can only do that for 10 seconds, do 10 seconds. So there's a saying again from the Buddha, drop by drop the bucket is filled,
Mhm.
meaning that every time you do your work, that's a
Mhm.
drop of water in a bucket that will eventually be a full bucket
Mhm.
of water. And so your 10 seconds, if that's all you can do, that 10 seconds is what allows that drop of 30 seconds to become,
Mhm.
to be in that bucket.
3 of those, yep.
Yeah, and then you
Mhm.
can do a minute, and then you
Mhm.
can do 15 minutes, and then you can do 20. The point is to just start,
Right.
and to not judge the process, to just start,
And then to be consistent.
and then to be consistent because that's the only way you get the drops in the bucket.
Right, right. You can't just wait and be like, "What? Wait, it's not gonna rain anytime
That's
soon,"
right.
right?
That's right.
Looking for the external factors to help you do this work,
That's right. And
right?
to know that meditation and mindfulness, which is again, it's just about creating space so that you're not reactive. It's really simple. Like, don't be reactive all the time. This allows you to do
Yeah,
that. But
yeah,
it's not about not having any thoughts. It's not about mastering your thoughts and wrangling them into silence
yeah,
because guess what? You will never do that.
yeah,
The human mind is designed to formulate thought. So let the mind be the mind. You can still not engage.
yeah.
You can still practice mindfulness and not to feel a lack of success if, man, I started to think about this thing and I went along with it. Did you notice?
Mhm,
You noticed it.
mhm,
Congratulations, you're practicing mindfulness. So
mhm,
it's just about an awareness of how I show up, how
mhm,
my patterns show up, how do my how my thoughts shape my emotions and how my emotions impact my behavior. And once you can unspool that thread, you're
mhm,
no longer an automaton.
mhm,
You're no
mhm,
longer at the whims
mhm,
of your always changing,
mhm.
sort of personality state.
Right, right.
Mhm.
I wanna ask you a question that comes up for me, often in my personal life. When talking to folks in my personal life, when we're talking about meditation. I find myself, uh, approaching the subject of what does one look like when they've been meditating for a while?
Yeah.
And we often have this conversation because there is and I don't know if it's a implant from society, but people expect that you are going to look like the Buddha if you've been doing it after a
Mhm.
certain period of time. You can't be hyper, you can't
Mhm.
be loud, you
Mhm.
can't be expressive
Yeah.
if and also be the person who's been meditating for a while. So I wanna talk about the authentic self
Yeah.
and the distinction
Yeah.
or the merging
Yeah.
of meditation and doing that for a very long time, emotional self-regulation and being your
Mhm.
authentic self. You talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure thing. Meditation is not about becoming something. It's about being what you are in truth. So if you are meditating to be the Buddha, you misunderstand. You
Mhm.
will What the Buddha represents is that inner peace, that inner stability, that inner Buddhahood that exists in everybody. And the way that it showed up in the Buddha was the way it showed up in the Buddha.
Right.
And it will not show up in you in the same way, but that peace will show up in you, that clarity will show up in you, that wisdom will show up in you. So we don't become anything. We are more of what we already are, if that makes sense. Like there's already peace here. So I will be peace as I'm dancing, as
Mhm.
I'm doing what is authentic for me to do. What you I've heard it said that meditation is not a game of gaining, it's a game of loss,
Mm.
meaning that you're not gaining anything because you have it all, but you are losing reactivity. You are losing chronic judgment. You are losing fear that keeps you in a reactive state. So there are things that fall away in meditation. I will admit that. Many things fall away in meditation. Um, because at the end of the day, humans are just a nest of patterns, and we call that pattern our personality. We say, like, that's who I am. It's like, no, baby. That's just something that's been on replay for 10 years. And, we can stop that behavior or that pattern or that concept or that idea. So what meditation leaves behind is everything that's not concept, everything that's not an idea. So in and of itself, it leads us to authenticity because it moves us beyond the inauthentic, the bravado, the ego. This is who I am, and this is maybe keep meditating.
Right.
Maybe
Sit down.
yeah, and
Breathe for a
so
little bit.
I think there is a misperception about what it means to be a practitioner of meditation and to be in the practice for some time, because it could look like a certain thing, but it could also look like something else. I've heard I've heard the story of Thich Nhat Hanh, the Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh, masterful. He was a master of himself, and he exuded such peace. He walked into a room. He's on stage, and the room was like excited for him to come in, so they were making a lot of noise. And when he came into the room, a hush descended. That's how great his peace was. He did not have to say a word. And so there is an energy that people who are in the practice of clarity for some time exude, but it's nothing to be articulated. And that energy exudes whether they are like laughing loudly, or if they are at an amusement park, or if they are visiting with friends. It's not that anything is limited. It's just that you carry that energy with you wherever you go and whatever you are doing, and you are perceiving clearly. That's the other thing about emotional regulation and mindfulness when we're in the practice of it. Most of us are walking around with smudged lenses. Imagine if you wear glasses and you have a lot of handprints and you just can't really see clearly. But you don't take the glasses off to clean them. So you're walking through the world partially
Sure.
understanding. And so meditation wipes those lenses clean. It helps us to see things as they truly are and not as the filter of the minds,
I love
paints them
that.
out to be.
I love that
Yeah.
analogy. Yeah. And thank you for that answer. Brilliant answer.
Yeah.
And I think it's one that does come up often, I think, but the way that you just encapsulated and described what it ought to be is perfect. It's perfect. I'm glad you did that for us. Let's talk a little bit about looking ahead. Where is the work in this field heading, do you think?
This field is as old as humans, and it's just gonna and it redefines itself in every century, every generation, but it's gonna continue to go on.
And the fundamentals are always the same.
They're never changing. And different traditions, different ways of talking about it. We can talk about this philosophically. We can talk about this through the neuroscience of it. We can talk about this through particular spiritual angles. I mean, there are so many ways to come to the conversation of who am I truly?
Sure.
So I think that will be ongoing, and I think it will evolve as humans evolve, but the core, the heart of it will remain unchanged.
What is one shift you hope to see in schools, or in more schools, I should say, within the next decade?
I hope that these practices are understood to be as important in a school setting as academics. That the same way that you make sure students take math every year, they learn these skills because it impacts their math performance and their life outcomes.
Yeah. Especially in this country. I've read that in Japan, it's compulsory to take a subject on emotional well-being.
Yes, I think it should be compulsory.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I think that would be fantastic. I would love for my little girl to take a class. I mean, she's already doing it anyway.
Yeah.
But to have it normalized again, right, in our educational system would be amazing.
Yeah, or normalized in the home. I
Yeah.
mean, I always, I speak to parents quite often about this, and they always ask me like, "Oh man, how can I help my kid?" Or it's like, you could do the work.
Yeah.
Because you are modeling behaviors like to your young person about reactivity and like how to respond in situations. So like you set the keynote. If you are a keynote of calm in your home, you are teaching that to your children.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one thing that we always do with every guest is ask them a signature question
Okay.
at the end of the podcast episode. Yours is, what is one uncommon insight about emotional intelligence that you wish every student and every adult
Mhm.
knew.
That your relationship to your emotional health is your relationship to yourself, and that it impacts every part of your life, whether you are aware of it or whether you are not aware of it. And so I encourage you to be the driver of your vehicle rather than to allow patterns to control your life and drive your vehicle.
I
Yeah.
love that. Thank you so much for this today. This has been just so amazing, eye-opening. Brilliant is a word I've used to describe you a couple of times already. Thank you so much. Where can people go if they want to learn more about this work that you are doing? If they want to study with you even?
Yeah, so 2 places. If you're interested in the work for your children, for your child, you can visit, CLYMB. So the website is CLYMB.io, so that's climbup.io. And if you are interested in your own development, your emotional regulation, or you wanna learn how to meditate, or you're interested in yoga philosophy, you can find me at Kashi the Yogi on Instagram, or you can visit, awakeyogameditation.org. That is the website of my meditation community.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Ashley, thank you so much for being with us
Oh,
today.
I'm so happy to be here.
This
Thank
has
you.
been amazing.
Yeah.
The signature question. I'm telling you, Ashley had me flowing through this whole thing. I'm just like, what? And I have it right here. Look at signature question. All right, so we got to go back. Thanks for tuning in to Uncommon Minds, where we celebrate the thinkers, the makers, the dreamers, and the doers who see the world differently. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow us, rate us, or share it with a friend who could use a little inspiration. Until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and keep thinking uncommon. Thanks to our crew for another amazing episode. Our managing producer was Cheryl Tuesday. This episode was written by me, Shelly Henriquez Neal. Our video and sound crew were Raina Wren and Little Ladybug Films.